if it was unconstitutional, why isn't Donald Trump being impeached for this?
That's a really good question. Now you're seeing where I'm coming from. The Republicans in Congress think like you do, where they see something that is obviously unconstitutional and they don't care.
It's not that I don't care. I just fundamentally disagree that it is unconstitutional.
But what are the reasons that you disagree?
It's intent. I'm never going to be able to convince you that the intent of that amendment was literally for people that were citizens having children on this land and for these slaves, because that was around the time that amendment was ratified.
Okay, so when they say all persons, they don't actually mean all persons. Right?
I guess.
Yeah. You have to explicitly reject the Constitution in order to say that it's not unconstitutional.
What's up?
Are you a MAGA man?
I am a Trump supporter.
Do you mind if I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you consider yourself a patriot?
A patriot? I mean, if in the sense that I love my country and sure.
An American patriot. Would you say that true American patriots support core American values like the Constitution?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, so if you don't support core American values like the Constitution, you're not a patriot, correct?
Yeah, sure.
So why do you as a patriot support a non-patriot like Trump as president? We know he's not a patriot because he doesn't support the Constitution. We know he doesn't support the Constitution because he's explicitly called for its termination, launched the largest internal attack on the democracy when he tried to rig 2020, and he's explicitly violated the Constitution a handful of times since his term begun less than 160 days ago, including his illegal removal of Abrigo Garcia or his illegal EO repealing birthright citizenship for the children of undocumented immigrants born on American soil.
Well, I wouldn't say that the removal of the born citizenship portion is unconstitutional. It's an interpretation of the Constitution.
Okay, well, the only way to interpret the Constitution in such a way that would end in the conclusion...
Through the Supreme Court.
That would end in the conclusion that the children of undocumented immigrants born on American soil shouldn't qualify for birthright citizenship is to say that they're not people. The reason why I say this is because the 14th Amendment is clear. They say all persons born on American soil are U.S. citizens. So do you think that the children of undocumented immigrants aren't people?
Yes, of course, I think they're people.
So then you think they'd qualify for birthright citizenship, and you would agree with me in saying that Donald Trump's EO is unconstitutional.
No, I would disagree with you.
Well, then you have a contradiction, because the 14th Amendment is clear. It says all persons born on American soil are citizens, and then you say that the children of undocumented immigrants are persons, meaning that they would fall into that broader category of all persons, meaning that they'd qualify for birthright citizenship.
They are illegal persons here illegally.
Okay. Well, even if we want to call them quote-unquote illegal persons, for whatever reason, I don't understand why we do that. It just kind of sounds like rhetoric to dehumanize them. Illegal persons still fall under the broader category of all persons. Because as long as they're still a person, then they fall under that broader category of all persons. You have to be able to like not include the children of undocumented immigrants in the category of all people, all persons, in order to say that they don't qualify for the 14th Amendment. So in other words, the only way you could defend the constitutionality of his EO is to defend the proposition that the children of undocumented immigrants born here aren't people.
No, that's a bad take, because you're literally making me look like an asshole, thinking that I'm not thinking that they're persons, which I do. I believe that they are owed due process. But I don't believe that amendment falls under them.
Can you read us the 14th Amendment?
All persons born or naturalized in the U.S.
There you go. There you go. That's all we need to know. Very simple logic. Children of undocumented immigrants are persons. 14th Amendment, all persons. Boom.
I'm just going to disagree with you on that.
Okay, why?
I can't agree.
Go ahead and give me your argument to disclude the children of undocumented immigrants from qualifying under the 14th Amendment to uphold the constitutionality/legality of Donald Trump's executive order. And as soon as you do, I'll tell you exactly why you're wrong.
I mean, it doesn't matter what I say, you're going to tell me I'm wrong. But somebody that comes across the border, has a baby that same day, and then literally just to have their child have a citizenship in America, that is not what the 14th Amendment was intended for. It was intended for slaves.
For the children of slaves?
Correct.
I have a question. Are you a child of a slave?
No, I am not a child of a slave.
So you don't have birthright citizenship?
Well, I do because my parents are citizens, right?
Wait. You don't have birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment.
I don't get what you're
You
going
said
on.
that the 14th Amendment was just intended for the children of slaves. You're not a child of a slave. This means that you don't have birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment, right? Yes or no? Does the 14th Amendment apply to you or not?
It does because my family are citizens.
Wait,
right?
but that's going to be another provision rooted somewhere else in like the legal code of what makes a citizen in this country, just not in the 14th Amendment, since you said the 14th Amendment specifically only applies to the children of slaves.
That is what the intent was. That's what
and you're saying because the children, and then you're saying because the children,
it also falls to American citizens.
Oh, okay. So you're basically saying that if you're not a child of a slave, you still qualify for the 14th Amendment because it says all persons born in this country are citizens. Well, this also covers the children of undocumented immigrants.
I don't know. I understand your point.
It's because it's a really easy and clear one. The amendment says all persons born in America are citizens. The only way you could disqualify somebody's eligibility from this amendment is to suggest that they're a non-person. Because the only way that they could disqualify is by falling outside of that category of all persons.
I don't know. I don't believe that it was intended for criminals.
So you're just saying that it wasn't intended for that. Okay. All right. Well, if constitutional rights weren't intended for criminals, then you don't think that criminals deserve due process, so you think it's okay to send somebody to death row without seeing a judge first.
No. I didn't say that criminals aren't owed due process. There are specific amendments that protect.
Wait, you said criminals. It's not intended for criminals. Okay, so for what crime are the children of undocumented immigrants born in this country guilty
Not the
of?
children. The children are not criminals. It is the parents.
Okay, so you said that the 14th Amendment is not intended for criminals, and the children of undocumented immigrants born in America aren't criminals, so thereby the 14th Amendment was intended for the children of undocumented immigrants, just not intended for their parents. And guess what? The children of the parents of children born in this country that are undocumented immigrants, the 14th Amendment doesn't apply to them.
Yeah, and then they get easily a pathway to citizenship once their child is a born citizen.
But is that covered under the 14th Amendment? No. So we're particularly discussing the 14th Amendment and who qualifies for it. The first reason you gave me why they don't qualify for the 14th Amendment is saying that, it was intended for the children of slaves. We refuted that argument by you agreeing that you qualify for the 14th Amendment even though you're not a child of a slave. And then your second argument was to say, well, it wasn't intended for criminals. Okay, well, that argument is just categorically incorrect because the children of undocumented immigrants born in this country aren't criminals. So what's the new argument? Why don't you think that the 14th Amendment applies to the children of undocumented immigrants? I'm telling you, the only argument you can make here is to say that they're not persons.
No. Okay. So let me revise my position on this because your position is that what was done in the Supreme Court is unconstitutional. My position on this...
No, I never said that what was done in the Supreme Court was unconstitutional. I'm saying that Donald Trump's EO stating that the children of undocumented immigrants born on American soil aren't citizens is unconstitutional.
Right. And then he got injunction by, state federal judges, and then it went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled that it was unjust.
SCOTUS didn't rule. No, that's actually not true. So SCOTUS didn't rule on the legality of Donald Trump's EO. SCOTUS ruled that nationwide injunctions are only regional. So, I mean, I think that was manipulative. I think that this was just obviously a strategy to keep his EO in effect in some parts of this country. However, because it didn't rule on the legality of Donald Trump's EO, I wouldn't say that it's unconstitutional, just like incredibly, like, obviously legally coercive and shitty. But once again, we are debating the legality of his EO. And so far, you have tried to convince me that that EO is constitutional. And I have given you multiple counter responses to every single argument you've given me insofar as our conversation.
So if it was unconstitutional, why isn't Donald Trump being impeached for this?
That's a really good question. Now you're seeing where I'm coming from.
So no, I'm asking the question like truly. What if you truly believe
because a lot
facts that
because the Republicans in Congress think like you do, where they see something that is obviously unconstitutional and they don't care.
It's not that I don't care. I just fundamentally disagree that it is unconstitutional.
But what are the reasons that you disagree?
It's intent. I'm never going to be able to convince you that the intent of that amendment was literally for people that were citizens having children on this land and for the slaves, because that was around the time that that amendment was ratified.
Okay, so when they say all persons, they don't actually mean all persons. Right?
I guess.
Yeah. You have to explicitly reject the Constitution in order to say that it's not unconstitutional. Words matter, bro. Guess what? It says all persons. I don't know what to tell you. You have to argue that they're not persons, or you have to reject the Constitution in order to say that it's not unconstitutional. We've been going in this loop now for like 15 fucking minutes. So many people have left the stream because you're boring, because you're obviously wrong, and you're rejecting the Constitution in order to affirm the legality and the constitutionality of said EO. Dude, I could do this too. I want you to give me an example of anything illegal that any Democrat has ever done.
Anything illegal that any Democrat has done.
Yes, ever.
I mean, Bill Clinton with a 17-year-old Monica Lewinsky.
Monica Lewinsky wasn't 17.
Questionable.
I don't actually think that is questionable. Monica.
No, it's truly, there was a big scandal on that whole front that she was around during that age.
She was
16, 17.
She was 24
when she started.
She was 24.
When she started going to the White
24.
House.
Okay. Okay. So she was 24 in 1997, but you're saying that she was under the age of 18 when she started going to the White House. Maybe this was like potential coercement. Okay, I'm not going to use that as an example to show my hypothetical because I don't want to like use like a claim of like P3 or coercion of minors in order to make my point. Would you give me another example?
Of something illegal that a Democrat did. I mean, what was the name of that Democratic mayor from New York? Big scandal on his I don't know how to say it on TikTok Live, but because I don't want to get booted. But you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The mayor of New York who stepped down because of the investigation on his, what was the name of the mayor? God, I can't freaking think. His brother is what used to be a CNN anchor.
Cuomo?
Yes, Cuomo.
Okay, Andrew Cuomo. What about him? He was a governor, by the way.
Governor, yes. Not bad.
And what did he step down for?
For sexual harassment.
Okay. Can you give me an example of like something illegal that a Democrat has done that isn't like sexual? Like, because I'm just okay. I'll explain to you the point that I wanted to make. But you're like only bringing up examples of like sexual harassment and pedophilia, and I don't want to like describe what I want like my retort to your original argument as it relates to like sexual harassment or pedophilia. But anyways, like the argument that I wanted to purport to you was like basically the idea that if you could give me an example of something illegal that a Democrat has ever done, I could basically say that it wasn't illegal. And if you retorted by saying, well, here's like the plain text of the law that describes exactly what they did that was illegal, I would then just reject the plain text of that law and say it was intended to mean something other than what it literally says. Okay, and the reason why I wanted to try to do that to you, I just don't want to distort like an allegation of SA or P3 is because that is exactly what you're doing as it relates to Donald Trump's executive order banning birthright citizenship for the children of undocumented immigrants. In order for you to argue that the EO is not unconstitutional, you have to explicitly state that this amendment, the 14th Amendment, means something other than what it literally says, okay? Because it literally says that all persons born in this country qualify for birthright citizenship, and then your retort for that is saying that no, it doesn't literally mean all persons, even though it literally says all persons.
Okay, so let me go this route because, you know, potentially I am going to say that you're correct, right? You are correct that this is unconstitutional based on the interpretation of what it literally says. My position still stands on it that if this bill is unconstitutional, that we need to make an amendment to it that doesn't allow somebody to run across the border and just give birth and have the right to their child. Because
okay, but now you're saying that you just legally, so you morally don't support giving citizenship to the children of undocumented immigrants. Well, I mean, that would call for like taking the proper legal channels in order to amend the Constitution. Okay, right? We obviously can't just say because Donald Trump doesn't like the Constitution and you agree with it that you don't like the Constitution either, that you could just throw the Constitution out of the fucking window. Like this just emboldens fascism. Like this is exactly what Donald Trump did with the 2020 election. He didn't like the fact that Biden won, so then he tried to just throw all rules, regulations, and articles of the Constitution out the window, and when he attempted to install fake votes for himself in Congress. Like, are you saying from Donald Trump's perspective, what he did was just because he disagreed with the civil and electoral practices of this country that allowed Biden to win based upon not only winning the popular vote, but also the vote in the Electoral College?
I don't want to go down the rabbit hole on the 2020 election. Let's stick to this amendment. If it is found to be
it's like
unconstitutional, right, then I would agree with you, right, that the proper channels need to be gone through to be able to.
Okay, but I don't know. It's not an if it's found to be unconstitutional. It just explicitly contradicts the Constitution. Like what is a better standard of evidence to show that an action from a president is unconstitutional outside of it explicitly contradicting the Constitution? Why are you not? Why are you not? We don't need to be a constitutional expert to understand that if something explicitly contradicts the Constitution, it's unconstitutional. Like, would you say that if Biden passed an EO banning the ability for every American citizen to own any and all guns, that would be unconstitutional?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, and why would that be unconstitutional?
Because of the Second Amendment.
And what about the Second Amendment would make the EO banning any and all guns from being owned by any American unconstitutional?
Because the right for people to bear arms shall not be infringed.
Oh, so in other words, you're saying that EO would be unconstitutional because it explicitly contradicts the Second Amendment, correct?
Yes, correct.
So if an executive order from a president explicitly contradicts the Constitution, it's unconstitutional, correct?
Correct. But
okay. So when Donald Trump's executive order explicitly contradicts the Constitution because it revokes birthright citizenships from people born on American soil, when the Constitution, specifically the 14th Amendment, very clearly says that all persons born on American soil deserve birthright citizenship.
If a team, and just to go back to the Second Amendment example, if a team of constitutionalist experts that write articles on this deemed whatever that bill was to be constitutional, right, and then it went to the Supreme Court and it stayed in place, then who am I to argue the constitutionality of it?
Okay, well, that's not what you told me when I asked you the question if the CO passed, would it be unconstitutional? Your response was that it'd be unconstitutional because it explicitly contradicts the Constitution. Now, if you're saying that you need to just leave this up, well, yeah, we're talking about your opinion because I'm doing an internal critique of you, your worldview, and your opinions. If your opinion is that that EO would be unconstitutional because it explicitly contradicts the Constitution, well, then your opinion would also thereby also have to be, as it relates to Donald Trump's EO, that's unconstitutional as it explicitly contradicts the Constitution as well. If you don't hold that same opinion, then you're just holding a different standard as it relates to the constitutionality of one EO compared to another EO, even though both EOs are doing the same thing, which is explicitly contradicting the plain text of the Constitution.
Sure. It is unconstitutional. I mean, I could take the L on that and say that EO was unconstitutional.
Okay, all right. The EO is unconstitutional. And then earlier in the conversation, you said, well, if it was unconstitutional, why hasn't he been impeached for this? Basically telling me and everybody else listening that you think if a president does something unconstitutional, such as an EO banning birthright citizenship or banning guns, they should be impeached. So now that I've got you to concede that that was unconstitutional, you're now going to turn around and call for his impeachment, correct?
Sure.
Okay, so then you're no longer a Trump supporter because you think he should be thrown out of office.
I'm still a conservative.
Well, that's fine, but what does my background say? How the hell do you still support Trump? You don't support Trump.
I support a lot of stuff that he does.
But overall...
There's a lot of stuff
But
that
overall, if you think he should be impeached, you're not a Trump supporter.
I mean, if it is unconstitutional, yes, he should be impeached.
Impeached for this, basically telling me and everybody else. Let's listen back. You said of the Constitution. You're just holding a different standard as it relates to the constitutionality of one EO compared to another EO, even though both EOs are doing the same thing, which is explicitly contradicting the plain text of the Constitution. Sure,
it is unconstitutional. I mean, I could take the L on that and say that EO was unconstitutional.
Okay, all right. Well, that's fine, but what does my background say? How the hell do you still support Trump? You don't support Trump.
I support...
You think he should be impeached, you're not a Trump supporter.
I mean, if it is unconstitutional, yes, he should be impeached. That's it. If it is unconstitutional. And again, I'm going to just reiterate, it's not up to me to deem that unconstitutional, right? That would be up to a team of experts.
Well, that's fine, but what does my background say? How the hell?
A lot of stuff that he does.
But overall...
What's going on? We're going to playing this on repeat. I mean, if it is unconstitutional, yes, he should be impeached.
So you said if it's unconstitutional, it should be impeached. I was actually just trying to play another clip, but I lost it. The first clip that you said was that it is unconstitutional. So you said it is unconstitutional, and then you said if it's unconstitutional, he should be impeached. What does this tell us what your opinion is? Your opinion is that he should be impeached because it's your opinion that individuals that do unconstitutional things as president should be impeached, and it's your opinion that that executive order coming from Trump banning birthright citizenship for the children of undocumented immigrants is unconstitutional. Thereby, in culmination of these facts, your opinion would be that Donald Trump should be impeached. Your mic is muted. There you go. Yeah. So thereby, the culmination of these facts would be that your opinion is that Trump should be impeached.
If it is unconstitutional,
you agreed that it was unconstitutional. Your opinion is that it's unconstitutional.
I agree that you make a good point that it's...
Yeah. Get the fuck out of here. Dude, I don't even know. Like, he literally said it was unconstitutional. Then he said if it was unconstitutional, it should be impeached. Everybody... What is 2 plus 2? Okay. What is going to be the result of those two opinions that he shared with us?